We're in the middle of winter. We're in the middle of the year.
It feels like you're just kind of stuck somewhere, and it can get messy, and middles are a weird season to be in.
Yeah. But it can be rewarding. It can be frustrating, but rewarding. And today we're focusing on middle schoolers.
Yeah. And you guys have had the joy of raising middle schoolers. And tell us a little bit about that.
Tongue in cheek? I don't know. Yeah. It's such a hard season because they're changing and developing and looking towards being an adult, and you're used to them not being that way. And I like to use the analogy of getting out of the driver's seat. You've been driving that bus, the proverbial bus, and now you're getting them ready to switch,
Yeah.
What did you find, Gina?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was more aware of all the changes that were happening.
Me too.
Because, they're not only going through hormonal, their body's changing, but there's brain pruning, so they can specialize in different interests, and that brain pruning takes place in that prefrontal cortex of the brain, which regulates emotions. So then the emotions go disarray. It is, and just knowing that, is extremely helpful too, because sometimes they're frustrated and they don't even know why. And the goal, I think, when you reach middle school, as a homeschool parent, you're wanting them to become more independent, and
absolutely,
and get them prepared for high school. And sometimes, some kids are really ready for that and some aren't. So just meeting them where they're at, and, they require more sleep. So maybe even
starting your day a little later for your middle schooler.
And just keeping those boundaries and still teaching that responsibility and the value of hard work, but let them experience different things too, and just let them become their own. And I think just having a listening ear at night was one of the best times that we had when I would pray with my kids. It's like they would open up so much about their feelings, and just to have that listening without judging. And so, because there's a lot going on, and this is a time for more than academics that you're learning. So
absolutely. But a lot of times it feels like, and I'm not a seafarer, we're in the middle of the United States, but you talk about when you're on the ocean, you're always looking at where you're going, right? And you're steering to that place, not based on what's around you. And I feel like the things you said are helping us to remember that for that child too, we've got end goals, and we've got things, and we've been working on many skills.
Right.
And some things are changing. The landscape's changing a little bit.
You've been working on those skills to develop those skills. And now kind of in these middle grades is when they're taking those skills and the student themselves is getting ready to apply them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now they are trying to figure out how to navigate. They've said, thank you, Captain, for navigating us. But now all of a sudden they're just there might be an island over there that I want to explore. Or they're learning how to apply everything that you guys have been building together up until this point, and looking forward to high school and those things as well, with these little middle schoolers whose prefrontal cortexes are still developing.
And what term did you call that? You had a term, the brain pruning.
Oh, brain pruning.
Pruning.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and that is a real thing. So, it just helps you understand kind of what they're going through.
Right. So there's this uneven ground a little bit, right? Because you're settling in, and you've had this consistency perhaps, or we even have some people thinking, well, we may not continue at high school, we may do a different option than homeschooling. So this middle school's got lots of variables to it.
And then curriculum throws in a whole nother variable, because a lot of those, especially we see this in math. Yeah. A lot of those math programs, they come like sixth grade. So and then,
what do we do after that?
Yeah, they've been chugging along. This is working great. Yeah. And then boom.
So all of a sudden, you're having to change something to get out of that routine. And then something has to change. Too. Yeah.
So that's really nice. We have some Discover Science here and Discover Social Studies that is new, that is going through 7th and 8th grade now.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, which is very helpful. The General Science 1 and 2, it comes sold in a kit, but it's pretty self-guided. And
There's do you want us to read some pages?
There's 10 units.
Rebecca, by that.
There we go. So that there's about 6 to 8 chapters per unit. And the chapters are really short. It takes about 2 days to complete a chapter. So it starts with an overview and vocabulary. And then you're reading the next page. You're reading in context, in like a real life with the new concept.
That's nice.
Answering some questions.
That helps them connect to their own world.
Exactly. Yeah, it correlates to state standards, so that's also nice.
Okay,
and the experiments just use household experiments, so nothing extravagant there. It's
great,
very helpful to have just have everything on hand. And so this one, general science, is it takes you through scientific methodology, human anatomy, measurements, health and wellness, astronomy, solar system. Pollution, climate change.
Wow.
It's
a lot.
Let's see. General Science 2 takes you through scientific theories, photosynthesis, ecosystems, periodic table, simple machines. So it's more like physical
so
science.
It really is touching on all of those different disciplines within science.
Basically general science.
So they've got that foundation will be more solidified as they head into potentially like physical science or biology in high school.
Yeah, and I think that this is very doable to be more independent. The teacher guide is there for support for like different learning styles.
I tend to say it comes in on the back end.
Yes.
You know, that it's the teacher material is not there for the instruction, but it's coming there on the back end.
Exactly. That's a very good point.
Oh, I like
grading
that.
or if they need something explained differently than the way their
Very
textbook.
nicely
Otherwise, it's written to the kids.
Right. It is.
As they're studying it.
And there's a separate lab book.
That would allow for a lot of tailoring too to your individual child.
Right.
Because then if one
especially
needs
this
more,
curriculum, it's very nice because it does have those different learning style examples. That,
Christian, secular, neutral. What is this?
Neutral.
It's a neutral program. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So.
Very nice.
And do you want to mention we've got another subject here?
Yeah, so social studies also for 7th and 8th. And one is the U.S. culture and history to 1865 and then medieval culture and history. So those will be coming
They are
soon.
coming soon. They're not in warehouse yet, but they will be coming
so
soon.
So very exciting.
Yeah.
And then Ruth, you have some language arts, which is really nice because I'll let go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
This is Lightning Lit. And so Lightning Lit is very book focused, but it also will cover, it's also the two main branches. You've got the literature and you've got the composition.
Making that full kind of ELA.
ELA. That's,
which is nice for middle schoolers. You're not having to
do all these things.
Yeah.
I mean, you can bring in other things if you need to, and the teacher material is very helpful in that regard for your students. So we've had
Storm
for a bit, and the Rainy Day Reader is a part of that. It's supplemental short stories and poems, and then this one will also be used in the new level, Tempest, which is another kind of storm, right? And there is one teacher book
and 2 students.
Yeah, volume 1 and volume 2. So basically, fall semester, spring semester.
Now, is this more student-led too, or
it can
self-directed?
be. I think there is a lot here for the teacher.
Okay.
But you'll see that they're scripted. So. Discussion questions are here so you can engage with the student. One of the things that I find helpful in language arts and then also in social studies is this engagement on ideas because you're talking about all kinds of ideas and exploring those as well, not only learning the skills. So that's why this is helpful. So you're still going to be involved, maybe in medium to low involvement, but you've got everything so that you're not.
I was noticing that it says day 1, day 2.
Yeah.
Like, I love something that is scheduled out for me, so I don't have to try to figure out how to break the entirety of this up in for my student.
Right.
It's already broken up for you.
It's a busy time there, and there will be composition assignments as well, and you may need some time to look ahead at those kinds of things. There are workbook pages. You want to show off some of those insight pages to show what those look like. And as you're getting that, this is the literature for this course, okay? And there are some familiar ones, perhaps. The Hobbit, My Family and Other Animals. This is, there's a PBS show based on this one. I did this one, so this one's been around a long time. M.C. Higgins the Great. Prairie Lotus is a newer book. And Treasure Island, and some of these deal with some very important issues, race and prejudice. They deal with pride, struggling through challenges. This one, don't be scared. It's not as big. There's 580 pages, but it's
more friendly on the inside.
It is friendly on the inside. And a great story. They say that there's a puzzling quest involving a prophecy, a promise, and a harmonica.
I'm hooked.
I'm hooked already. Yeah.
So that's one thing I do love about the Lightning literature is that they always choose really good literature. That the student will be reading throughout the year, and I love that.
Very engaging.
I love using
like
literature to talk over issues, to hear from each other. I would always involve even my younger students who weren't reading that because, here's a concept, here's what's happening with this character, what are the choices that character's making? What are the belief systems that he's showing by that choice? I mean, those are all these things that middle schoolers, are wrestling with themselves, and then, what are the options based on your principles.
Yeah, and then they start seeing themselves through some of these characters that they're introduced to within literature and start processing for themselves.
And kind of developing their own worldview, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And we were in rural America, where we were living. And so it was very helpful to have that as well as a way to expose to a wide variety of viewpoints and have responses and talk about them in the light of our home and our family beliefs and things. So
these have all been like really great tips on and I know it's just the tip of the iceberg when dealing with middle school learners.
We could have a whole series.
Also, we talk about middle schoolers and striving for independence, but we also want to progress to like interdependence, which is, middle schoolers using their independent skills and working with other people to reach goals. So I think it's also important to teach those communication and social skills and also have them open up if they're feeling overwhelmed and, if something's too much and also recognizing that in others to help others. And I think that creates a healthy interdependence.
That it's not just about me.
Exactly. And that's another level of maturity.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And I love that as a goal, right?
Yes.
We're not, no man is an island,
right?
We need to be.
And we're created for relationships.
Yes.
Exactly.
And to foster that. But we would love to kind of hear, like, what were some of your guys' tips and tricks when working with your middle school student? What seemed to really work for you, and what might you still be struggling with when it comes to your middle school learner?
Raising the white flag.
As a homeschooler, you have a unique opportunity to really guide your children and pour your heart into them, and it will pay off.
Yes,
so,
absolutely. Yeah, blessings.
I thought you guys had the beginning of talking about the struggles and the progression through middle school. That was beautiful. I was gonna cry.
Well, you're right there. You're right in that, sort of.
I'm in high school now, but
I know, but it's still
very fresh for me. And especially the hormonal thing. I think people forget that. And when the kids are acting defiant or confused, they're not doing it
wait a minute, they don't even know what's
we
happening.
think they
don't
are.
know what's happening.
And mothers are going through that thing at the same time.
You're going through the letting go and the grieving. I was going through that, and he's going through that rebellious hormone, and he doesn't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. He's frustrated.
You want to join us and do
I'm
another
crying. This is a regular
just-
thing at home.
Just pointing out like that analogy we used of the whole driving of like, it's at this time where you're noticing that your student can start taking some control of some stuff, but their emotions are driving them right now. And so you might be thinking you're putting your student in the driver's seat, but no, you're putting their emotions in the driver's seat.
And it's really dangerous.
Good point.
And just being aware that like, nope, you're putting the emotions of a 13-year-old child.
And they're not recognizing that.
Correct.
Either.
They haven't been given the skills.
I didn't.
It's amazing how you can go so quickly from everything's great to completely
Yes.
And then it's not necessily one thing or your fault, but you can take it as your fault as a mother. You just cry at night after they go to bed, you know, because you don't understand yourself what's going on.
Yeah, and I don't think we use this term, but Amber uses the going through the mutation phase.
Yeah, we do not use that.
And sometimes,
I'm okay with
that.
Doesn't,
that season doesn't stop at middle school. I mean, it continues through high school.
Yeah, there's still,
Yeah.
It's some of it's we understand, but now it's even deeper and more intense.
Yeah.
So I struggle right now with him.
Right.
And the freshman, the whole new, you know, like I'm independent, I'm a high school.
Exactly.
And I'm like, whoa, breaks.
Right.
You know, you want this independence, but you're still doing middle school, grade school, forgetfulness, and this. And I'm like, making that balance.
And they all mature at different
rates.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, poor girls, they're physically.
They've got a lot on their plate. Change. And,
and physically they often look older than they are, and you know, and then
their brain hasn't caught up yet. Their emotions haven't caught up yet.
Yeah, and so there's so much going on.
It's 25? Is that when the prefrontal cortex is fully developed?
Usually like 25.
Yeah, so wait until he's 25 and he's more self-aware than anything.
Are we gonna make it?
I don't know. He might be kicked out by then. And I think parents need a lot of encouragement.
They do at this age. They do because you have a lot of tears at this age because you, like you said, you don't fully understand what they're
It was
going through.
always my middle school parents that were coming into me asking like, I don't know where we woke up today, but like, what do I do? Like
what country am I in right now?
It was always the middle school parents that would come in to talk to me because they were as lost and confused as their kid was. Like,
you know, and it's funny watching that transition because the kid is trying to gain independence,
yes,
and the mom is having a hard time letting go, of being the one in the driver's seat. It's a weird transition for everybody.
Because you want to keep controlling.
And you don't know how much to let go, and you're grieving that because I'm not needed as much.
No,
anymore.
exactly.
It's just a grieving process for mom,
especially for a boy mom. Of that, I love that whole thing from mommy,
very
mom,
true.
ma, bruh.
Now, when I pass him at school or somewhere when he's walking the bus, I can't even say anything now.
No, it's just don't acknowledge me,
That's
Mom.
all he'll acknowledge. I can't say, "Oh, Nathan, I love you."
Give me a hug.
And that's it.
Yep.
Otherwise, I don't exist.
Right.
When we're at school functions, you know.
Yes.
Sometimes at home.
Right.
It's hard. I feel for parents. And it's exciting though to see what they're going to go
Right. It is. It's all so exciting and rewarding.
Yeah. It is like, that's very adult-like.
Yes.
Wow, where did that come
Right.
from? He did retain
you're
all
becoming
that
a young man now. Maturity.
Well, and they're practicing all these things. It's all practice, you know. And we're looking at a snapshot of that time, you know. That child is not, this is not their end all character right in this 5 minutes. They're being a jerk right now. I was a jerk 10 minutes ago. You know, we're all processing this stuff, and every child is different too.
And as a parent, you know, just being willing to own up to your mistakes too.
And modeling
that's teaching them, You know, when you say like my temper was short with you and I apologize, that's teaching them to acknowledge the feelings that they are having, acknowledge how they took that out on another human person
either, right.
and to apologize for it. It becomes a great modeling opportunity rather than thinking that you always have to be perfect for your
Well, and I've heard, when parents are calling us, they're letting off steam, and we need to have people in our wheelhouse, whatever the metaphor is.
In your corner.
Thank you. Cheering us on and hearing us. But also I've heard the combative talk, you do this, you do that. And so then we're modeling that for them too. And I know I felt it, I felt that way. If I can turn it to myself and say, here's what's happening, and sometimes it might mean, let's take a time out. We both are too emotional to handle this right. Yeah. Let's take a time out and come back later.
Breaks are okay.
Yeah. Excuse me while I go scream for a minute. I'll be back.
In the pantry with the pillow over your face.
Who was the mother that prayed with the...
Oh, Susanna Wesley. She'd throw her apron up over her head.
So maybe we need aprons. I need a really
you need to bring back the apron.
All right.
That was good.
But you guys can do it. You can do it.
You can.
And it's, the other day we were at a game, and this is one of those things where you see all the years of elementary where you're working with them and working on good ethics. And there was one of the kids, I gave him a little money for hey, take everybody to go to this snack bar or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was one girl left behind sitting there, and I don't know if she felt comfortable or just didn't know. And I saw Nathan go, and then he came back and came to her and said, come with us.
Now that's a proud mom moment, isn't it?
And I'm like, oh, that's my kid. It's
Yes.
Include everybody.
Yeah.
Include everybody.
And all it takes is that one moment to just make it all worth it.
It's like, he was listening.
He was listening all those years, all those times he's been recently, earlier on.
And rather than, and I always wanted to take that for myself. And it's really good to say, hey, I saw you do that.
I'm so proud of you.
That was awesome.
That was very nice.
I know that
changed
her. I know that changed that girl's day.
Exactly. You didn't leave her behind, and she felt forgotten.
Shut my mouth after that.
And that's teaching relationships.
Yeah. I was so proud of him because the other kids were just off. They went.
Right.
What's that word?
Interpersonal. Interdependence.
Yeah, interdependency.
I love that you brought that because that's the goal, right?
Yeah, because we are relational and we do need to learn.
Yeah. And I don't know how many times I've talked to parents that, the child says, I won't, especially in high school, I don't need this. I won't need this skill. I'm just going to go do this job.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. And,
or to think I don't need anybody.
I don't need anybody else.
Handle all this
I can do this by myself. Yeah.
And that's, that's a lie of the enemy there. And it's it's our culture to do that.
Yeah, to say I don't need anybody. I can do this by myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And
insular.
And that's why I love that interdependence. It's that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
To be independent enough to be able to be
there.
interdependent. Does that make sense?
Yes. And think of others more so than yourself.
Yes. Ooh, hey, throwing that biblical out there.
There we go.
Gotta throw it in there occasionally. Thank you for joining us for our TED Talk today.
The end credits are going to go longer than the actual episode.
No, if it was a TED Talk, we'd be walking back and forth.
Very true.
My God, a little Madonna mic going on.
That was fun, guys.